I make out the wrong one. Wouldn't matter.
Okay, good morning, guys. I think we can have this session on because it's already a 10:15, and I'm Kennedy Ogutu, and I welcome all of us to this particular session today. Just to continue from where we left last week. And I will take this opportunity to welcome each and everyone. And I'm seeing Patrick is already on call, and I welcome him to commence the session. Thank you. Patrick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, I can hear you too. Take it away.
All right, thank you and welcome, guys. So today I want to welcome you all. I think it's a pleasure to have you, and I want to welcome, I think, my colleague Makombe, who's I think on the session, and Kezia Mwirori, together with our friends Kevin, Kirui, Agik, Oguku, and Wayne. So welcome, guys, and I think we should get started. So I think the first thing we're going to do is kind of refresh our memory from where we started. So last week we had a session primarily on reports, and we were able to develop one report that is patient clinical visit report. It was an indicator report that it could give account of the number of people who have had clinical sessions. Yes, and basically this report we were able basically to define it in the various sections. So I think I'm gonna share my screen in a moment so that we can get to see how to kind of have a recap on how we developed it. So I think you can give me a minute as I try to share. So, and basically as a recap from like where we've come from, we can say we started from introducing how to set up your environment, how to start building the modules, to right now where I think at one point we created a form. Then from the form we added some few variables, that is observations, and from there we now went to the reports. We did an indicator report. So basically we described that there are two major types of reports: indicator reports and cohort reports. So we did, I think Anthony took you the process of creating an indicator report. Today we are going to focus on the cohort report, and still there are like two subsections of cohort reports. There's the encounter-based cohort report and the patient or person-based cohort report. So I think I should be sharing in a moment. My screen. Ogutu, you can still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, all right. So I'm currently building. So it might take a minute or two, but please be patient. So you guys, you can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, so this is basically the add-on module that we've been developing from the start. So what we did last week is basically we added this patient clinical visits form, and it's what I will shortly showcase. And as a recap on what we did, we added basically 3 files, and we connected 3 files in the module application context. So as a recap, we basically had the builder. This is one of the files that we say that determines which type of report you're building. So for the indicator report, this is how the indicator report is built. So we have the abstract hybrid report builder, and we have our cohort definition. So these are all patients. We have our parameters. You add the start and end date, and then you add the definitions. So the patient. So I think I should be on this one. Should be in the library. So these are the 2 files, and here is our builder. So I think this is what we did last time. So as you can see, Anthony added the disaggregations, that is the 0 to 14, 15 plus female, 15 plus male total. So I think it should be up in a minute. I can show you the end product. So it needs a few minutes. Yeah, it's almost. So basically the 3 files were for an indicator, you do the library. So you do the cohort library. This one selects the ID. So this basically counts the number that you need in your indicator. That's the cohort library. So you can see our select query here on patient visits, and then the indicator library basically does the count. So this one is where you insert the query. The indicator does your counting, and the builder is where you add this cohort patient, the indicator. This is how you add it here. And then you add the disaggregations. So I'll be showing you in a minute how it reflects. So it still needs a minute or two. And I think one more item from the builder, we wired it up on our module application context. Here it is, and very important, you give it, you have to assign this class that indicates that it's an indicator report on your module application context. I think you can see there. So I'm almost. Yeah, so basically, I think today we are going to have a session on the cohort report, and I had said they are just two. They are mainly person-based, and in the person-based, you implement the class of the person data evaluator, as you're going to see. So I've just picked a simple, I've just selected like a simple report called patient on art. So I'm going to pick the people who are on art and do a register for them between a particular date. So since they are people on art, these are person-based. And the whole logic is that if the whole logic between these cohort registers is that you can have, like, you can want to see people who've had a particular attribute, so, or a particular, can I say, observation, so, or yeah, so like people who started on art. So that gives it's a cohort register of people who are on art. On the other hand, you can have an encounter based, so you can like to see people who've been like traced, people who've been traced between a particular time. So this is encounter based. So that is the major difference of the two reports. So I think it's almost. Yes, so I think from the first report, I could probably ask if there's anybody with a question from what we did last time, or I've shared with, I think, a geek and one more person on how to create some items on the add-on module. Particularly, I think with one team we've done an app, we've done a form, and then we've done what I think we've started on patient search, and I think with a geek is where we've done most of the work. So any question from the team from the work so far we've done as as it finishes to load.
Patrick, maybe it's not a question, but what are you waiting for? Are you trying to give the output for the last minute, the report that was big?
Yes. So actually, what I realized, we never showcased what really came out from the last session. So that's what I want to showcase.
Okay.
Yes, because I think we had done there's something we hadn't done quite correctly. So I should be showcasing it in the next 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right, let me now share. So I'm sharing my screen. Yeah. So You guys can see my Kenya EMR. Can you guys see my Kenya EMR?
Yes, you can.
Yes, so last week we did this report, patient clinical visits report. So as you can see, it's an indicator report. And this, so I can request it. And basically, this is what it will provide. So I've requested for this one. And this is how it's supposed to showcase. So you have your patient here. As you can see, the disaggregations are the ones we did, and the counts. And if you click on the counts, it will actually give you a line list. So you can see this is a line list. And if you download, it will give you an Excel. So today we go on. So this is basically what is an indicator report. And you can even see where it is located. It's located on, can I call it my left side? So there, and you can see the title here is indicator report. So today we are going to try and do a report that would be on our right side, which the follow-up, the patient follow-up reports. Basically, these are encounter-based, or rather they are cohort-based reports. So they are, we normally call them registers in a very loose term, but we normally call them registers. So this is what we are going to do today. So from last week's work, if there will be any question, I think we can handle it before we dive deep into the cohort reports. If there's any question.
So maybe just to add, like Patrick has indicated, this is an indicator report, and as you can see there, we have various tabs. So you are free to group your reports based on what you are doing. Like if you have a special report which doesn't fall under any of those categories, you can still do it. You can still group it, and even say this is now KNH report. If they have other special report that is not like common to everybody, so you can do, or you can do put them under tab, just like you can see we have HIV, we have TB, we have IPT. Those are still possible. You can do. I just wanted to highlight that it's possible for people to group their reports. So the reason, another reason why we do that is just for ease of accessibility. Imagine if it was only one page displaying all the reports, it will be difficult to locate. So we just use the tabs to try to make work easier for clients so that they can spot things they want very easily. Yeah, over to you, Patrick.
Yes, I think that's also very important. It's for kind of accessibility of the reports. It makes it much easier. Yes. So, any other question from the team? So, and basically, after trying to group them like this, still now you now decide whether you want to do an indicator or a cohort report. So, for accessibility, as you can see, all these tabs have different types of indicator or cohort reports. And it's possible even on the add-on module to add a tab here that will give these particular reports like this. So as you can see, we have like, this is the module, which is like an add-on module called key population with its set of indicator and cohort reports. Any other question? So basically today we are going to do one cohort report. So we call it like a register. So I think sorry, you can go ahead.
Yes, lady is excited to see you. Kwa hiyo Kenya EMR hiyo Kenya EMR tulisema tukiona patient tuna close, tuna check out. But tukicheck in, hawezi access the last notes.
Mimi nahisi sana.
Okay, I think there are some people asking questions, but I'm not sure that they are related to this.
I have a question, Patrick.
Okay, go ahead.
So on the ETL tables, huh?
Okay,
Let's say
yes.
you build an add-on form. Will the form be available also in the ETL so that I can do a report from it, or what is there a step to create the table under the ETL tables?
There is a step to ETL it. There is a step to ETL it. I think on the last session that we started on the ETLs, we showed you how to do the ETLs. So basically, there was the DDLs. That's the DDLs which create the schemas. So the schema basically would be, as we said, it's a form per table, and your variables will be the columns. So let's say you have a form, call it form XYZ, and you'll have columns. So your columns will be there. Your variables will be the columns. You should add it in the DDL, and then add it also in the DML to populate. And then we also run the scheduled updates and the stored procedure. So yes, there will be a step. And I think from the last session, we kind of highlighted on that step, which will make it easy to basically make your accessibility of your data very fast when you're doing the reporting. So that's another thing we are meant to collaborate on when developing the ETLs. It's not a very hard step. It's something that is pretty much straightforward and fast. And the architecture of form per table, or rather table per form, makes it even much easier for somebody to ETL his or her own custom form. Because I'm sure you'll be very much aware of your custom variables in the form. So I think it's not a very huge task. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, thanks. I'll consult you maybe later on that. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, so just as Patrick said, it's right. Like when we started this thing, we said if you do ITL, whenever you create a form in Kenya EMR and you want to do a report based on the form, you must ETL the form. The reason why we are ETLing the forms is because the way OpenMRS stores data, the OBS table, we said that the OBS table stores data vertically. So meaning that each variable you create on a form in the OBS table will be created as a row. So if you have like 10 variables in a form, in the OBS table, they will appear 10 rows. So to query that is a little bit cumbersome because the reports will be taking time. And that's why we bring in the ETL so that we just make everything to appear just one row. So all your variables will be formed the columns in the ETL. So like you have 10 columns in the ETL and one entry, just one row to answer those questions that were filled on the form. So from there, it's just so direct that you just do a simple select and you'll be able to answer anything you want in the report. Yeah, over to you, Patrick.
All right. Any other questions? I think you can. Those are very informative questions that are really interesting. But any more other questions? So I think if there's no more questions, we can basically go to our next report. And basically try to come up with with a cohort-based report. We normally loosely call it a register. So, and for you to keep on top of your mind, it to be on your right side. It's more or less like a register. As you can see here, we have like it's a partner notification register, and they're basically designed into two. There's the encounter based and there's a person based register. So I think I'll simply dive into our code for you to see how it is developed, and then we'll basically end from where we see it on our Kenya EMR. All right, so I think I'll need a minute to share my code. So I think it's loading. Okay, I think it's almost.
Patrick, are you there? Did we lost you?
Yes, yes. No. I'm just a minute. I'm trying to load something.
Okay.
Something. Just a minute. Okay, I'm almost. Okay. All right, let me share now my screen on the report builders. Stop share that one. So I think you can see my screen now on the patient. So so you can see my screen on the add-on module. So we're going to, so I've just decided to create a simple report. It's called like patient on art. So like a register, or rather a register of all patients on art between some 2 time periods. So I want to know, like, let's say today's a report of today, how many patients are on art. So I can have their names, their UPNs, their DOBs, and yes, their UPNs, their DOBs, their unique patient numbers, name, date of birth, sex, and something like so I can say something simple like art start date. Yeah, start date, something like that. So there are standard, more or less, there are some standard columns that they are pre-configured by the reporting framework. So for us to get some things like the names, the unique patient numbers, the date of birth, the sex, these are more or less pre-configured because these items, we add them when we are doing registrations. So basically it's almost what we did the other time with the other builder, but this time around we are set to do an encounter and cohort person based report. So basically we do our build. So basically the build, we say this is the ID of the report that will be reflected in the module application context. So this is basically like the ID of the report. It's very important for you to remember that. We are going to follow the same format that we did on the other patient clinic visit report. Because it is basically an ETL based report, we are going to pull 100% data from the ETL. So we call it patients on art register report builder. We extend the abstract hybrid report builder Let me compare it with the other one that we did, but I believe it should be the same. So this one is the abstract. We just did I think the abstract report builder. Here we need like a hybrid because it is a person-based cohort report. So I think you can note the differences on where we're extending. So we have a date format. Then we do our patient data sets. So this is the cohort. Basically what we mean by the cohort is that we have to get more or less like a line list of these people that we are trying to get. And the way to get this cohort is basically we pull them from a predefined cohort, or rather a group of people. So basically the way the report works is that you get a line list of people with very predefined characteristics. That is what we call a cohort, and then we feed them into the builder. So I think the first thing we should do is I'm going to show you how to come up with this cohort, and we have decided that you're going to come up with patients who have started on ART, and then we're going to showcase the ART start date, and we could even add 2 or 3 characteristics of them, so we can even list the ART start date is here. We are planning to give the regimen that they are in and probably the regimen line. So that is basically, that one can give a patient-based cohort register. So the first thing is we come up with the cohort, the actual cohort. So the way we design a cohort here is that in the file structure, you can see we have a file called cohort, and inside the cohort we have the definition. And we see the definition, basically this gives us the line list. Inside the definition, we have the evaluator, and inside the evaluator is where we put our query. So like here in the evaluator, so I think this is something that I repurpose. So add patients. So I can just say something like that. That these are add patients. So you say you call it the patients on ART register cohort definition. So this is the class that we just called in the definition. So you put it that it supports this class and it implements. This is very important to know that it implements a cohort definition evaluator. So these are patients on ART cohort definition evaluator. So as you can see, the evaluation service, what it basically does, it gets patients on ART register. So, and here is where we get our patients. So basically the queries that say that you can select patient ID from Kenya, the drug event. So the drug event is a table that shows that you are currently tracking the drugs. So between 2 specific dates. So this is the query. So here is where we get the patient ID from the patients from the table. So here we already have our list of patients. And from this is where we now build we take these patients into our builder. Okay, this one. So this is where we wire them. So this is the patients on ART cohort. Patients on ART register cohort definition. They basically are derived from this definition. Yeah. So this is the definition. I think you can relate. This is a definition which is added on the report builder. And the definition has the evaluator. So we have the definition and the evaluator there. And then the definition is wired in the report builder to get your cohort. So this cohort that we are calling the all patients cohort, it picks all patients that are started at, and we give them the parameters, that is the start date and the end date. And we give this name, we call it the ART patients. I think that is how we basically wire them. Any questions up to there? So that is basically the process of wiring the cohort in the builder. So we've basically wired the cohort and give them parameters at state, at start date, and at end date. Yeah.
So just as Patrick is saying, the parameters given there right now, you see we have the start date and end date. It's not limited to that. You can have as many parameters as possible. Maybe you can pass locations, for instance, where you are doing, you have a centralized way, so you have several locations that you want us to generate reports per location. That's still possible. So that's why you do you'll be passing the specific params. It can be even a county, whichever way, what you need to use to specify whatever you want on the reports. Yeah. How about you, Patrick?
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Makombe.
So right now, the reason why we even have only 2 params is because, like, these reports are being run per facility. You don't need to pass a location because automatically it will be one location. But where you have a centralized way, where you want to get reports based per location in a centralized server, then you will be able to pass that location as a param and you're able to generate its report. Yeah, Patrick, continue.
All right. So next we build the data set. So the data set is below here, patients on ART data set. So this is where we build the patient data set definition. And so as you can see from this data set, a small data set, so I've just done a small data set. We're going to increase this number of the columns, but for now we can just pick the standard ones that I've said. Those, these are basically the ID, the name. So we've added the name, the unique number, unique patient number, name, date of birth and sex. I've just added one new column called R start date, which we are going to increase and see how it reflects. But for this, for now, we can have this. So these data sets, the way you wire it to your, so the data sets, the way we wire them with the cohort. So this is where you call your data set, all patients data set. So this is the patient data set you have just called, and you add to the all patient cohort, and this is the cohort that we just described up here. And then you say that you put now the parameters, that is the start and end it. So basically that is how you kind of wire this. And we have a small, it's basically like a widget that gives you the start and end it. So this is how you call it. I think you've done some number of reports where you've been asked to put the start and end it. So this is the way you wire it up. So for this, so I think that is the basic builder with most of the standard reporting variables. So for this one new, which we most likely this is where you're going to be adding your variables. So like this one, you've added the ERT start date. The way you do it, you simply, just the way we've added the cohort, but this time it won't be the cohort. You're going to have the patient ID and the particular variable that you'll be adding. So for these ones, we want the for the cohort, the ERT start date. So you come here on your I think you can see the way the file structure, but now you come to the data. Inside the data, you have converter, definition, and we have inside the definition, just as we have the definition and the evaluator. So the definition, we want ERT start date, the start date for each and every client. So this is how you basically define the definition. And then for the evaluator, this is where you have your query. As you can see, this is a person data evaluator. So as I said, this is a cohort report for as I said before, there are two types of cohort reports. There are the encounter-based and person-based. So this is a person-based cohort report. That's why we implement person data evaluator. As you will see later, for encounter-based, here we'll have encounter-based evaluator. So the main difference, as you can see, is in the query. So in the query, we just pick a patient ID and the date started. Yeah, and this is very, very critical for you to understand the difference between the two, the two subsets of the cohort report. We have the patient-based and the encounter-based. For the encounter-based, you'll have the encounter ID and the variable. And for the person-based, you'll have the patient ID and the variable. So this is the main difference. If you can recall the other report that we developed, the indicator report, let me try to highlight it here. For you to really get to know the main differences, for the indicator report, it was only patient, because we had said earlier, it only deals with counts. So here we don't deal with anything besides a count. Here we just need a count. So you only pick patient ID. For the cohort-based reports, we'll need a count and your variable. And so as we say, the cohort is a group of people with a particular attribute or characteristic. So here it's not simply a count, it's the person and the attribute. So here we have the patient and the date started. So basically this one will give you all the patients and their date started. And this is how we wire them inside there. So here we have the evaluator, and then you have the definition, and so the definition is what really is wired in the builder. So as you can see, we first get the cohort, then we have our particular, we normally give the predefined variables, that is the unique number, name, date of birth, and sex, and then we start having columns for the particular variables that you're looking for. So here you could have any type of variable. So probably you could have for this one, you have their ART start date. If probably you've enrolled them into a particular, in other programs, or you've filled forms for, probably there's a very specific KNH program. So here you could have their start date for that program. You could have various other items such as, so like attributes of a particular patient. So if you've done a form, let's say you've done, we usually have a form called enhanced adherence form for clients. So here it could be, whether they've done the enhanced adherence. So there will be the date they started their enhanced adherence, their session number. So such kind of attributes for the client. So that is basically how this one works. So after adding this one, so I think we are good to go. Then we just simply go back to what we normally do. We wire this report into the module application context. So very key, it's the first one that we did, which is an indicator report. Here we had indicator report descriptor. Now here we are going to use the hybrid report descriptor because it's basically not per se an indicator report. And you have our ID, the ID that we said. Let me see if it's the same. That is the ID of the report. It's just standard patient on ad. And then we have our unique ID. So here you can go to the online UUID generator and generate one. And we have value patients on ART, register description and the apps. And we set the recipient here. And I think from here you are set to go. So let me try to. So I think I should be running this. So let me build it and see whether it will run. So it has run successfully. So I'll load it and try to see whether we can see our form. So this one takes about 4 minutes. It to be a bit more. So I think we can have our 4 minutes. Ogutu can tell us something about how far the migration has gone as I try to build. Ogutu, are you online?
Yes, I am. I'm online.
Tell us how far the migration has so far been.
Yeah, the migration has been fine. I think from our previous meeting we had, the partners are really working so hard to ensure that they migrate their sites. And in any case they have maybe any issues, they are calling our service desk, and also when they're stuck somewhere, we refer them to the dev team. If in any case they have issues with the maybe transformations or loading that cannot be solved, and they have always the ones that have reported have been supported and sorted out. So the migration is going on smoothly from the feedback that we get from the field. Other than that, also we have the current latest version of OpenMRS. So there are sites that are upgrading to the latest version, that is 17.20. And then from the information also reaching us is that our resources are really making it easy for users outside there. The ones that are able to access YouTube, they are really appreciating the resources that we have availed for them to use in terms of the guides for all our products that we have. So the ones that maybe are having difficulty understanding some sections are calling just for verification and clearance from our team at service desk. So everything's pretty well. I know we had a hitch when the version 17.20 was released, but I think it was sorted out. Yes. Yeah. Ni wapi Karo? Pak Soar. Tuh banyak Ustaz belum sasa. Kez.
Yes.
Yes. How is migration from the field?
Sorry?
How is the field team in terms of migration from your region? So, passwordnya masih kuning.
My background has a bit of noise.
It's okay. Yes. Patrick, you can continue.
Na inakwambia MySQL password hapo kupatana.
All right, I'm still building, so I might need a minute or two.
It's fine.
Hi, Ogutu, I think now it's a bit clear.
Oh, now give us updates. How is migration going on in the field? Yes.
I'm here to get updates. I'll be checking on. I've reached out to some people, so any updates will be there by evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
Hello. No, I'm building. Dakika moja.
So I think as Patrick is building, maybe if there are guys who have questions, we can handle them as we wait for the build.
All right, you guys, do you have any questions? Any questions from the team?
But your comp is too slow. Huh? Why is it taking time?
No. It's something. Actually, I've been able to see the form. I've just realized there's something I had misspelled. So just need to see. So it's already there.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a minute. That's why we planned a bit more extended time here. So it should be on the So I think I can even explain where I had that issue. All right. I think it's very good to notice that how we've prefixed the ETL table. So I think there's one table I hadn't prefixed. So when you are querying in the OpenMRS and you are basically not querying the OpenMRS database, you have to prefix your queries with Kenya EMR underscore ETL. So basically this is an additional table. So that is where I think my issue had been, but I think I had tested it and I could basically see the form. So I think.
So what Patrick is trying to say is that tables within OpenMRS, you don't need to prefix them with the database name. They will automatically be seen. But because Kenya EMR ETL DB is a DB we are creating for ourselves, right? So whenever you write queries based on Kenya EMR ETL, any table you are referencing in your query must be prefixed by the DB name first. So that's why you are seeing Kenya EMR ETL dot. So the first part before the dot is the database name, and then the table name follows. So if you even have another DB, if it's not Kenya EMR ETL, yeah, that your DB must be prefixed as long as it's not OpenMRS DB.
Yes, and I think that would mostly apply in actually all the reports that we'll be doing the reporting from ETLs, which is our main target. So if you have like an additional custom form and you ETL that form, so it will be probably, I'm sure you have it in the Kenya EMR underscore ETL, then ETL underscore your table name. So once you're doing the reports, you need to prefix that Kenya EMR ETL. So basically that's what I think Makomba was saying. So, but I think that's some of the things just to take note. So it's now refreshing context. Actually, I had already seen the report. It's only that it errored because of the prefix issue. So anybody with a question? So about 4 minutes, I think we should be done. So it's almost.
Alafu dash tena dash test.
Hello. Pato, is everything okay?
Yes. I think we are good to go. You can see my screen, my Kenya screen.
NMR, not yet.
Can you see my screen? The Kenya screen.
No, NMR screen not.
Okay, let me show you. So you can see it now?
Yes.
All right. I think we go to the reports. And as you can see, now we have our patient on ART register. So this is the new register we've created. Initially, there were just these two, but now we have the third one that we have created. So I'm just going to open it. And very, I think can go back. Very importantly, you can see it is on your on my right side, meaning it's a cohort based and it's a register. We've given it the term we normally call it a register. It's not on the left side. It's not an indicator report. It's a cohort based report. I'm going to click on it, and I think you can see this is one that had error, but the error was that I had not prefixed one of the tables. So I'm just going to request report. So this piece of requesting report, it's the database reporting, I think, class that you had seen that I had added. So I'm just going to do like a start date and an end date. So I'm not sure about my DB a lot. So I'm just going to pick just any date and try to pull it. I'm not sure whether it's going to error this time round or it's going to give me the result. Okay, it has given me my result. So let me view it. So now you can see, I think all of us now you can see how it differs, how the cohort based for person looks like. So you can differentiate between the other indicator report in such that now this one is immediately see the line list of guys, although they are the summaries. So you immediately see in the line list of guys, the unique number, the date of birth, their sex, and this is the extra variable, or rather extra indicator we put, the at start date. And it also has our summary of totals, males and females. So you can see how a cohort-based report basically looks. So this is what it will immediately give you once you wire it the way you've done. So I think if somebody has a question at this point, it will be very important to, because basically this is the main difference between the cohort and the indicator report. The indicator report will just give you the indicator and the count, but this one will give you a line list of guys that have that particular attribute. And as you can see now, we have, so most of these, like the name, the unique number, date of birth, and sex, those are pretty much standard. So the column that we added, that you saw down there, is the at start date. And basically after this, what you're going to do, we're just going to add one more column to show you how if you have different variables, you can add them into this particular report. So at this point, if there's anybody with a question, I think can ask.
So maybe just to add, so as you can see, the court report, we only get the line list of the patients, right? And the indicator based, we get counts. Then from the counts, we give a way in which you can see the list of the patients who forms that cohort. So just as Particle said, you can have several columns as much as you want based on whatever report you are trying to generate, the various questions you are trying to answer based on your report. So the columns can be as many as possible. And as you had seen earlier on, just maybe a recap, for you to have that column, you must have its definition as well as the evaluators. So once you've done that, then those ones are added to the definitions, comes to the report builder, and you are done. You are good to go. You love your report. But it just go back where we select the filters before you generate, request for a report. So those were the parameters. Remember when we talked about the parameters, start date and end date, we were passing them on the report. So this is where we put on the filters, like I had said earlier. If at all you add another filter, let's say a location, then it will be presented here so that somebody can select that location, or if it's a county, somebody can select the county the way you can see we are selecting start date and end date. Then from there you will filter your report based on any param you would like to pass to that report. Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight the filters because we are talking about them. So remember there we just try to put them. You have to specify now I'm generating a report from this start date and end date. And if there is any additional filter, you can select it from there. And it forms part of the report. So whenever you add an additional filter, they also are passed into the query, just the way we were passing start date and end date. You will also need to pass that additional filter also within your query. Yeah, over to you, Patrick. Or if there is any other question, then people can ask us. Patrick tried to maybe add another another column for people to just to see. Maybe you can add another definition.
All right, if there is no question, let me just add one more definition of basically what I would be doing. I'll be adding one more column here for one more, let's say, can I call it an indicator, or rather a report question that you need to answer. So I'll just add it here. So let me share my code in a moment. So somebody can see my screen. So basically, oh, good, can you see my screen?
Yes, I'm able to see.
Yes. So basically, that one ART start date that I had there is basically composed of this. So this is where I call it in the builder. But in the background, I have a definition for it, ART start date, and an evaluator for it. So that is the only thing that we need to do for you to add one more column. So I think we are going to add one more column here. So let me choose one more column. We can call it, so because we're dealing with the drugs, let's say we call it regimen. So we want to know, already you're in the, you're taking drugs. Can we know your regimen, which regimen you're taking? So I'm just going to pull the regimen. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to have a definition and an evaluator for it at the data. This is not a code, it's at the data level. So basically, let me just copy this one and sit there, and I'll call it. So I'll call it at regimen data definition. At regimen data definition. So add regimen data definition. So regimen, it's good to make sure that you add this comment so that people can read your code. Add regimen data definition. At regimen. And again, as I said before, you add the evaluator. Yeah, you add the evaluator. So just call it at regimen data evaluator. So you need to use the corresponding classes. Import them. So at the evaluator level, so at the evaluator level, this is where you basically do your query. All right, yeah. So you're going to select patient ID. So here we're going to pick regimen. And that is a column in this particular table called ETL drug event. So it's called regimen. So we're going to pick the patient ID and the regimen here. Can remove one. Yes, you can remove unused imports because clean your data. So, and basically, the definition you have to wire it now in your builder, but this time it will be the at regimen definition. At all right, I think we are good. So that is how. So basically, we'll be trying to add one more column. So let me build this one. So I think, guys, you followed how we've added this cohort based for person report. It's a person-based cohort report, or rather patient-based person report. So it has built successfully. So again, I'm going to have it build, had it loading in our Kenya EMR. So as you've seen, essentially, if you first wire up your report, adding extra columns is quite simple. It just takes like less than 5 minutes, as you've seen what we've done. So basically, we've added 2 definitions. So you've added so basically we've added the at-regiment data definition and the at-regiment data evaluator, made sure that our query is okay, and wired this up in the builder. So what I was trying to say is, if you've already conceived your idea, the kind of report you want, and you already start to kind of implement it, if you've already done the cohort definition, and you first get working on with the standard variables, adding additional variables from your form is quite simple, as you've seen. So again, I think it will take about 4 minutes before it will. I have a slower machine, so but for the faster ones, I think they will take much faster. But basically, we are trying to add one more column on this, and you can add as many as you basically want. But the main idea is, if you have a person-based cohort report, very, very important, it's in your query. So you'll understand that you will have a query that picks 2 items. It's like a key and the key value pair. So the key here would be the patient ID, and the value will be the value will be the particular indicator or the particular variable you want to pick in your particular report. So so for strictly an indicator report, you just pick the patient ID, and that this one will give you the count. For cohort-based reports, both person-based and encounter-based, will have a key value kind of a query, whereby for person-based, you pick a patient ID and your particular indicator, and for encounter-based, you pick the encounter ID and your particular indicator. So I think that is, the most important principle, just to have it in your mind. So I think my build is refreshing context, so it will take a bit like 2 or 3 minutes. In the meantime, I think we can still try to get people's comments, views, questions, and such.
Patrick,
Yes.
I think you can also, just for purposes of clarity, to show them the drug event table.
Okay.
Yes. so that they can see these columns you are trying to select. Because like now you are trying to select a regimen column, that regimen should be available within the table that you are trying to use. So maybe you can just show that ETL table, and they can just see as that thing build, yeah.
So you can see my new screen.
Yes, we can see.
So as you've seen, I'm clicking the ETL drag event table. It has columns here, so you have patient ID. So this is the key. So from this key, you can pick any other variable here, such as the date started. This is what we've started with. We've picked the date started. You can pick the visit date if you want to know what the dates they came, the provider, the encounter ID, the program. For this particular second example, we've picked the regimen. So you can see this the set of regimens. These are the regimens that are with these clients. Let me think I've selected. Yeah, like these are the regimens. The regimen. So you can pick any other kind of a variable here you want, but it's very important to have like the key value concept, like where you pick the patient ID and their regimen. Basically, that's what we are doing. So this is the table. It has so many other variables. We can have regimen line discontinued, whether they are discontinued, regimen discontinued, date discontinued, reason discontinued, vice and probably voided. But I'm thinking might not be interested with the voided piece. So this is just an example. We have a bunch of ETL tables. So if, for example, you want to know the clients that have been done and enhanced adherence. So basically, you can pick the patient. So you use the ETL enhanced adherence table. You have your patient ID as a key, as the value could be any one of these. So you can have the session number, the session number of the current session number, the date of first session number, pill count, any other variable. So these tables are, as we had stated, I think on the last session, very early on the last session, is that the ETL tables are basically for internal reporting. You can report essentially anything from here. It has a very defined structure. It will always start with a patient ID. So each one of these will always start with a patient ID, and the value you could pick any variable of interest. So I think you can also, it's good for me to show you how the ETLs are basically populate and what you can get from the ETLs. So, and basically these are achieved from the transactional table, that is the OBS and the orders, but mostly the OBS. So from the OBS, we have these ETL tables, and from these ETL tables, you can do any kind of reporting, either cohort-based or indicator-based, person-based in terms of cohort, or encounter-based cohort. Yes. So I'm thinking if any team was to develop a custom form, we could have it's first of all, it's ETL table here, let's say ETL underscore your custom form. And from the structure that we normally use, especially in the DDL, it will show you how to populate them. So it will most likely start with the patient ID, so that to make the querying quite easy for both reports. So it's something I would call upon the team to start engaging and learning how to create these tables. They're very important. They make the process of creating the reports very simple and seamless. Like you have seen, we don't have now to have a lot of to think so much on where we are querying and what we are querying. We just automatically know that there will be in that table there will be a patient ID, and then there will be the variable that I'm interested with. So you see, it makes the querying, the report building very easy and seamless. So I'm not sure that you guys have any other questions. So it's almost. So and now all this, whatever the work we are currently doing, will be pushing each week's work on GitHub on the add-on module. I think I shared the link. So if you want to find out how we come up with all this work, you can just clone it, go there, test it in your local deployment and see whatever created so far. So it's here. So let me share my screen once more. So you guys, you can see my Kenya EMR. So good. Can you see my Kenya EMR?
Yes.
All right. So let's go to our report and see whether our column is appearing. So it's on this there on act register. So just request one using our parameters. So I saw in August, I think there's some guys in August. Rather, I can just put the June ones that I saw there quite substantial. And request. Let's view them. So now you can see our new column, the art regimen column has populated. So basically, this is how you populate, or rather you create a new variable of interest. So you can have as many as you can on this side. So for example, for that particular table now you can add stuff like regimen line, whether they have discontinued, such kind of columns here as you progress. So basically this is the cohort person-based report. I think now we can now get any questions. I think you've seen how to develop it, add columns on it. Do you have any more questions? So I think 1 minute. So I think we can go to the next item. Whereby we'll showcase how to basically develop a cohort encounter based report. So a minute. So you can have 1 minute. For basically for an encounter-based report, we have a report on, we are reporting on the various encounters. So we can, for example, say a report of, let me try to think of a simple report. Okay, all right.
Wango, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to, okay, we finished on the cohort report for person-based. I'm looking for a simple encounter-based report.
Encounter-based report is HIV, sorry, HTS register.
Yes, like a HTS register.
Because there we have, so one can have the initial test and then, yeah, they can be like multiple times, you see. So someone had a test last time, amekuja this time, you know, or the confirmatory, HTS confirmatory register, confirmation register. That's encounter-based.
Yes, I'm actually.
Anywhere you will see a visit date, encounter date.
Yes, and mostly, yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I know you must have explained this, but the cohorts are based on the data models. So if you want like a line list of people, you'll use patient dataset definition. If you need like something based on visits, you'll use visit dataset definition. If you use encounter, if you want something encounter based, you use encounter data definition. And there are some columns that will come automatically with them. For example, an encounter based data set will have encounter date by default. So you just add encounter date dataset definition and it will pick automatically. A visit will have visit date, a person will have things like, you know. Also, ART preparation register is also encounter based.
Yes, yes, actually I've noticed that. I'm just wiring it up in a minute.
Huh?
I'm wiring it up in a minute. I'm almost there.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes. Wow. Oh, sorry, sorry.
Hello, team. My assumption within the given time is that we might not finish if we start the encounter-based. So we can schedule to do the cohort encounter-based report next time. But I think so far so good. Today we've been able to achieve the cohort-based for person-based. So this patient CRT register, I think we've gone through how we develop it, how we come up with the cohort, with the cohort dataset definition, how we come up with the definition, the evaluators, and even for the particular indicators, how we add the indicators, and still how we showcase it. We put the parameters, the start date, the end date, and the very distinct difference between the indicator and a cohort register. We can schedule to have the cohort encounter-based the next session, the coming session. Given the remaining time, as you've seen, the first session we've taken quite some time. I'm thinking we might not be able to complete it fully. So I think at this juncture, I can take questions and suggestions and comments on on how far we've so far gone.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And the floor is now open for questions, comments, or any other thing from the rest of the team. It seems that there's none coming from the team. I guess everyone is satisfied. And Vic, I'm seeing you've unmuted. You have something?
No, not really.
Oh, okay, thanks. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, so the floor is open for any questions or comments from the team.
I think for me, maybe to appreciate the training. I know maybe majority of the questions now will come when you start doing it practically. So I think just to continue asking for your support. I know the moment we now start trying to do it, now that is when maybe the actual real questions will come. So yeah, so that is my comment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ken. Any other comments? Seeing Ongechi has joined. Ongechi, you can say hi to the team. Ongechi is still muted. Any other comment from the team? If there's none, then I'll take this opportunity to thank.
Ken.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, my comment is to actually just appreciate those who have attended. Yeah, Asante. I think if we proceed like this, we'll be able to actually crack the many hurdles we have. Also, when you start to learn something new. So consistency, I think, is will help us a great deal. So, msikufe moyo. Yeah, I mean, I know the sessions go for like 3 hours. Sometimes you could only pick at least one or two things, but I think you'll realize that with consistency, you'll build on what was done previously until we just handle stuff comfortably. I would suggest that we start doing forms next week. Because I think for reports, maybe individual teams could just pick those up, and then we use this forum to maybe go through the different challenges any team experienced in the course of the week. We try to resolve them together and then move to something else like forms, because I know, like for Kirui, these custom reports may not be his top priority, but the forms. So we could be pushing the two lanes together just to help move stuff. I don't know what others think.
Hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Agik.
Yeah, I think what Makomias suggests is a very good idea, because even we at Coptic, we have around 18 forms to develop. So currently, I'm just concentrating on the forms development, and I think reports will come very much later. So if we can somehow concentrate on the forms, that can be quite helpful to us. So I really welcome that, the suggestion from Makom.
Thank you so much. Any other comment from the team?
Yeah, I think also I am of the same opinion. Like Agika said, for us also as at KNH, we are more or less sort of building some forms for them, and maybe more details on the things that revolve around that. How to maybe add modules linking the forms, so certain forms to the specific modules, and maybe also probably configuring flags maybe for certain modules. So yeah, so we could focus on that. That is I second that opinion as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. The floor is still open. Any other comments?
I think I can chip in. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I've taken those two consideration very, very highly, and we will definitely pivot towards those. I appreciate, I think Kirui and Agik, they've reached out. We've done something with them on the add-on modules, and I will urge the team to be on board. Whatever we've done, we're going to push it online. You can see for yourself what we've done and how it reflects as we pivot towards forms and flags. And I think it's very good. These comments coming from the team on really what you really feel would be a value add for the training. So I really appreciate on behalf of the team that is training. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. If there's no any other comment, I will take this opportunity to thank each and every one of us who joined the session. And the recording will be added to the previous 3 recordings. This is our first session, and it will be available on YouTube on our YouTube channel for recap purposes and also for practical purposes. We practice, we'll be able to follow through what has been done in this particular session. To the devs team, thank you so much for availing yourself and taking the team through this session and also planning for the session that will come next week. Thank you so much. And if there's no any other comment, then we can end today's session. Thank you. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.